Welcome to another VC Wisdom Pod. We have Ari Goldberg with us today. That Ari is a cool guy, quite successful by all measures. So, founder and managing partner at RNMKR. It's a private investment vehicle for people of influence. He's been founder and CEO at Globalist for more than 6 years now. RLBLC is another of his company. Spends time, I guess, between New York, Miami, and LA. And also founder at Barber Surgeons Guild previously, right? I think you exited that in 2021. And StyleCaster. So pretty extensive CV, pretty extensive experience as a serial entrepreneur. Ari, welcome to the podcast. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Awesome. Well, Charles, super appreciate you having me on. Obviously, you've had some great people, so glad to be included. Quick background on me. Feel free to jump in anytime. But as you mentioned, I'm an investor and founder by trade. I started my first business when I was 19 at NYU. Went to NYU undergrad, and for grad school, my first business was in celebrity events, marketing, promotion, working a lot with Noah Tepperberg and Jason Strauss during the early Tao Group days. Left there to launch a couple startups. Then I was brought on by Steve Stout and Jay-Z to head up biz dev at their marketing firm Translation. After that, was brought on by Maverick Carter and LeBron James to launch LeBron's marketing firm LRMR that became Spring Hill and Clutch with Maverick Carter and Rich Paul. Within a week, Mavi took me to meet Dan Gilbert from Quicken Loans and the Cavs. Dan became the lead investor in a couple businesses I was starting at the time. Flash forward a few years, I was a founding partner of a video mobile app we sold to Yahoo, co-founder of a big data company we sold to AOL, and founder and CEO of a large digital media business that you mentioned called StyleCaster that we sold to PMC. Then I went and traveled the world for a few years, started working on some of these projects that led me where I am today. And now I pride myself on being the founder and managing partner of RNMKR. It's a next generation private equity shop. We build private investment vehicles for people of influence. And then some of our portfolio companies include other businesses that I've helped launch, from Globalist, Tile, RealBlock, and some others. So excited to be here and hopefully add some value to the great audience that you've created.
The first obvious question is, why were you built that way, or how were you built that way?
Me personally, or the business?
Yeah, because who's the man behind all of these businesses, right? There's none of these without the Ari involved.
That's true. I think we are all the product of our genetics and our upbringing. The different. You have. I guess the psychologists would call it nature and nurture. So we have our genetic code, that comes, and then we have the environmental code. But then I think the other part of that, kind of the 2A, is the life events and experiences that we've encountered and the choices that we've made. And so, really, I'm just like everybody else. I'm a culmination of that. I come from a family of small business owners. I always like to say this word entrepreneur, founder is a new concept that we only use the last few years. When I was younger, my grandparents just called themselves small business owners or business owners. So I guess a little bit of that is genetic or environmental, but also I like to tell people, at the end of the day, I'm just highly unemployable. I don't make a good employee, so it's much better for me to have my own businesses.
Yeah, same here. But if we take LeBron, right? So of course, I think he's 6'5", 6'7", but the guy is just a savage when it comes to training and discipline and how he views the world and the systems behind his greatness, right? So what systems, what habits did you create to become that good at this level?
That's a great question. And obviously, I had the privilege of working with LeBron, but I'm also a diehard sports fan, and I love athletes. And I like to think that sports is really one of the last great meritocracies. We live in a world where singers can't sing and actors can't act. But if LeBron doesn't go out and drop 30, 10, and 8 every night, he's not LeBron James. And so I love that about sports. And, LeBron, obviously his work ethic, but I think to your point, one of the stories I always love is they talk about when LeBron and Carmelo and D Wade, I think it was the 2008 Olympic team, and they were playing with Kobe. And after the games, before the games, they would see Kobe working out. And LeBron in particular was like, oh shit, like this guy's on a different level. He's putting in a different kind of work. And just my work, not only with celebrities and athletes, but my own interest in sports and work ethic and discipline and motivation. It's really just, it's putting that work in, as you've built businesses. No one did it for you. if you didn't show up every day, it wouldn't happen. So I think, work ethic is something we got to pride ourselves on. And, we got to put in the work, even today, like, my Instagram post and TikTok post was, they use that first of the month trend, but it was just the idea, like the rent's due every day. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to be the best, like every day, there's someone else, chomping at the bit, trying to catch up on us, trying to track us down, and we got to put in the work every day. So that's just kind of a mindset for me.
Oh yeah, for sure. I believe, by the way, the small parenthesis, that the modern Black Mamba is Goggins. Not only does he look like Kobe, but that guy is so intense, man. And yesterday I was listening to a video of his with Izzy Adesanya, like the UFC champion, right? He was training him, and Izzy was just puking in a trash bin next to Goggins, and Goggins was like, "Yeah, just continuing." Doing his thing. And I think pain tolerance is so important, and it's a very lovely sport. It's not really a team sport, entrepreneurship, although like one level is, but at the end of the day is how much pain can you tolerate, how much can you execute on the plan that you've set, right? How much you can process data, make good decisions, leverage technology, I guess. In your case, you had a couple of exits, right? But I'm pretty sure that you had big challenges in your career and exiting these companies. Tell me about some of these challenges and how you overcame some of them.
It's a good question. I'll tell kind of a vulnerable story if you allow. I always say there were like 2 times in my life that I passed out from stress. One was romantic, and one was professional. And I remember there was one night I was with my business partners. We were at the StyleCaster office late, and there was no money in the bank. Payroll was coming tomorrow. We were in touch with our lead investor, who was always really good to us, but also, a self-made billionaire and busy in his own right. And we literally did not know if we were going to make payroll. And there was nothing we could do about it. We had no money. And so we were really just kind of sitting there waiting, praying that our investor would come through and help us get to the next stage. And he did, as he always did. But in those moments, I literally remember being on a couch and blacking out. You know what I mean? The stress, everything about the emotions of the moment, all the obligations, the feelings that I had towards my team and wanting the company to do well, and my own ego and what I had envisioned, felt like it was all collapsing on me. And I feel like you don't get ushered into the entrepreneurial fraternity unless you have one of those moments. So that's what makes us tough, and that's what makes us strong. And, it's like, I guess what they, in a very Goggins sort of way, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right.
Right. Because I think we sort of went through the woke ages, which was sort of touchy feely. I think it's important to identify and understand your feelings and not repress them. Even the best endurance athletes do that quite well. Like when I'm on a 100K run, if my knee is hurting, I'm not like kidding myself. I'm like, this knee is hurting and I need to do something about it. I need to strategize a fix to it. I'm not repressing that, right? But I think it's quite important as well to endure pain, right? Like in the end, we're humans, we're grit creatures. 5,000 years ago, we didn't even have like secure food and water, right? And some people nowadays are going through wars, through very intense stuff. And I think we can handle a lot, right? It all depends how you handle it as well. If you convert that pain into PTSD, or if you convert into growth, do you have a trick for that? Like, do you have a recovery stack? Do you go in the sauna, hit the gym to digest all of that stress?
I think all those things, and I love what you said, and I love how you kind of bring like the evolutionary biology into it. I'm a bit of a runner. I ran 5 marathons, and there's some of the great one. I think the kind of like the running 101 book people always talk about is Chris McDougall's Born to Run. And Born to Run does a really interesting job of not just talking about running, but really talking about the sociological, the anthropological, the historical aspect, like you were saying, of like why the human body was created to run, right? And so for me, working out has really become, so I grew up an athlete. I played tennis in college. I was all right. And then like post-college through like my working 20s, I got real fat. I still could be a little skinnier, but I didn't get real fat, but I was fatter than I should be, a good 10, 15 pounds heavier than I am now. And then actually a guy that is a buddy of mine, who's one of the top NBA trainers, Idan, walked in my office. I just let him work from our office. and he was like, yo, bro, you're fat. We got to do something about this. And I was like, what? Fuck you, man. And he was like, no, man, you're fat. We got to do something. And I started working out again, but I didn't, like, you're an athlete, I'm an athlete, we have that athlete mindset. And so like going to the gym and working out to me was always as an athlete. Like, I am training for this and I need to go to the gym for this reason. It never made sense to me to just like go to the gym and like rep out some, chest press. And so one of the real hacks for me was when I started thinking about exercise as a psychological sport and not for my physical obviously my physical well-being is going to benefit. When I started thinking about the mental exercise, the psychological exercise, and the benefits there, I was like, okay, cool. I, like most of us founders, entrepreneurs, investors, probably should be in therapy for like an hour or two a day. That sounds super time consuming and expensive. So I'm just going to use my workout as my therapy. And I find, running, swimming, yoga, these things we call moving meditations, to be really beneficial because like you can't outrun your problems. You could go run 100 miles and you're still going to have your problems. You really have to deal with them and work through them. So I always think that exercise is one of the best hacks for business people for sure.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, I have a psychotherapy GPT that I talk to on a daily basis. It's quite helpful because we suffer a lot of micro traumas every day, right? And if you let the micro traumas stack on a daily basis, on the 10th micro traumas, by the way, us entrepreneurs get like 15, 20, 25 micro traumas. Most humans get one per day. If you let them, you'll like explode, right? You'll explode on random stuff, like you'll punch a wall or something. So every time that I have a micro trauma, I'm like, hey, GPT, this just happened. This guy told me my email sucked. I got bad feedback. This client left, for example. And I think like just reasoning and talking to something, even if it's not a human, helps a lot. And yeah, I can relate a lot to the long runs. I get all my good ideas in there because you get like serotonin, endorphins, sometimes adrenaline, dopamine during these runs. Plus you have a conversation with yourself, right? I'm not sure about you, but I have this coach in my head that's very much like Goggins, right? And he always pushes me to the next level. And he hears my bullshit, right? He's like, oh, poor little soul. What are you going to do about it, right? And then comes the solution. So there's a time to process your emotion during the run, but after sometimes it's just like, bam, that's what I need to do. So after the run, I hit the office, I sit on this chair and I just get shit done. And that's pretty life-changing. What do you think about that?
I think that you're spot on. I think there's two things that you touched on that I really liked. One is kind of the voice in your head, which is a very Goggins concept. And two, like how you're leveraging AI to deal with it. I think, in the Goggins sort of thing, like, being a marathon runner, it's like, what I always say about marathons, it's amazing, is like, nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like if you stop, your friends and family are not going to care. They don't even care that you did it in the first place. Like they'll be proud of you if you finish it or if you don't, but you'll know. You know what I mean? And like that voice that we all deal with, that like, Goggins calls it our governor, right? And it's like, really, when you think you're done, you're really actually only at like 40%. Like you have so much more to go. So I love that concept. And then I also love the way that you're leveraging AI. One of the things that I found really helpful, I prefer Claude. I find Claude to be really awesome. And so now what I've been doing a lot of is every time I think of a team member or someone in my life that I want, I build a Claude version, right? So like the other day I built, I injured my hip running a few months ago. So I built a physiotherapist and I did my entire rehab like with Claude, which was amazing. But I built him based on all the top physiotherapists in the world, right? So I went and did my research. Who are the top physios? And I did that. And I was actually about to build a similar one because like you said, there's a few like top sports psychologists out there, guys like Bob Rotella and whatnot that work with the golfers. Rory McIlroy obviously worked with these guys right before he won the Masters. And it's like that idea of having that. And then there was a video I saw that Sabrina had done on TikTok, really talking about how a lot of the mental health stuff is going viral with AI because people are really using it as a therapist. They're getting the benefits. Obviously, it's exponentially cheaper than having your own therapist. So that's also something on my radar, and I love that you're doing that.
Yeah, and I have a biography GPT, and I published a newsletter about that. And one of the greatest athletes that really wowed me not so long ago was Serena Williams. I'm not sure if you've checked her story, but she almost died twice, like once at pregnancy and another time because she stepped on broken glass, and these people are so inspiring. There's also Simon Biles, I think that's how you pronounce her name, but like the gymnast, and yeah, these people just went through some massive shit and came out like almost intact on the other side. And I think that's the beauty of being humans, right? Because if you don't have any challenge, if everything's easy, you sort of get bored, right? I think most billionaires they never retire because they sort of get bored, and they're left to dealt with their own like demons. And yeah, the next thing you know, they want to get back to the market almost immediately, right? You work with a bunch of celebrities on your end. What have you observed from them? Are they the same psychologically as most humans? What parallels can you see with your own mind as an entrepreneur? How are they like mentally?
I think they're some of the strongest for all the reasons that you mentioned. I think, there's one part of it that is obvious that I don't think a lot of people like to admit to themselves, which is they're literally no different than us. You know what I mean? They are humans. They have 24 hours in the day. They have 365 days in the year. And it's like all successful people, it's what we do with that time, right? It is a big part of it. But beyond that, it's also really just not only what we do with that time, but like that mental fortitude to overcome issues, to overcome challenges, to really have the discipline to put in the work day in, day out. It's like in a Goggins sort of way, they just have a higher pain tolerance, right? They're willing to put in more work. They're willing to eat more shit. Like I love when Ben Horowitz and Mark Andreessen talk about, entrepreneurship, right? It's eating enough glass that you start to like the taste of your own blood. You know what I mean? And that's crass. And most people don't like that idea. And that's also why most people are not entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? That thought sickens them. And then there's a few freaks out there like you and I that are like, fuck yeah, man, I eat glass and I like the taste of my own blood. So
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a mindset for sure.
Dude, literally, I'm gonna send that video that I was watching yesterday. I was watching it in my sauna and I got primed, and right after that, that gave me like battery for 3 more hours watching Goggins. And yeah, in my office, I just put it in my screen there, and it's literally watching another human being suffer on a stairmaster for 20 minutes on the treadmill. And yeah, oddly enough, I derive a lot of energy from that. It's like, yeah, these guys are pushing it to the next level. It's golden. And I think yeah, that's why a lot of people, they think that Goggins is like a dumb guy, like. And to be fair, Goggins doesn't have much IQ, but what this guy has is like soul and grit. And I think that most entrepreneurs, that's exactly what they need. It's probably 80% of the recipe. So you had like a couple of exits at that stage. Are you proud of what you built? Are you done? What's it like at this stage for you? What's next for you?
I think, similar to kind of like what you were saying, it definitely becomes an addiction. I think at a certain point you're kind of high chasing. But it's, as like being a founder, whether on the entrepreneurial side or the investor side or any sort of creator, anything that you're building, there's a high that you get to that you're constantly chasing. But along the way, it's a roller coaster and it can be hyper volatile. And you got to fall in love with all of it. I think you got to enjoy the pain as much as you enjoy the joy, if you will. And, for me, like, I don't ever want to stop building businesses. I love it. Like, that's my addiction. I love creating. I love being stimulated. I love working with interesting people. I love the opportunity to meet really cool people like you. I love thinking. I love the challenge. And I think, I was always taught by my old business partner. He would always say, like, entrepreneurship is about one thing and one thing only. It's about problem solving, right? And I love solving problems, big problems, small problems, little problems, whatever it is. All day long, I'm walking through the streets and I'm like, oh, that sucked. That's fucked up. Why doesn't the building fix that? And why doesn't the city fix that? And why doesn't the government fix that? And it's like, and then, that's really entrepreneurship, which is like, if we find a problem and we come up with a solution and it can help enough people and there's a business model for it, you can make a lot of money, right? That's business, nothing more, nothing less, right? And it's really cool. And then you kind of get into some of the Jeff Bezos stuff that I love that he talks about, where it's like, one of the things that makes business really special is like, if you take baseball, right? If I come up to bat, the most runs this is Bezos, not me. The most runs that we can score at one time is 4. Right? The bases are loaded, first, second, third base. And I get up there, I hit a home run, grand slam, 4 runs, right? But in business, if you hit a home run, you can make $1 billion. You know what I mean? It's exponential. And I think that's a game. And I think one of the challenges for me, but also one of the things that's gotten me fired up over the years is that opportunity to play the game. You know what I mean? But not what does this person think? What do I think? What do I expect of myself? What do they expect of me? And it's more so just like, it's like the Jay-Z lyric, you know, it's just a game. I just play it to play, right? And if we start thinking about it as a game, then I think it gets real fun.
Shout out to Jay-Z. Still listening to the man every day. Yes, but I think the energy and the adaptation and the learning required for a moonshot is tremendous. But yeah, I feel I've sort of been kidding myself the last couple of years, because I had a moonshot like a decade ago. My first company was a nootropic and it failed. And I think I sort of got founder PTSD after that. I've been creating other companies, right? It's a nice lifestyle that I paid for myself. I have my dream life, but I still do want to attempt at the $1 billion company. And yeah, just before I have kids right now. So I think I'm at a good moment, but it's like, yeah, I feel I want to do it, but not enough to pull the trigger on it. And I've talked about that to my New York City psychotherapist so many times about that. So what would be the solution to that? Is just fucking do it, because I think I do have the adaptation, the IQ, the EQ to attempt that moonshot. But at the other side of things, I mean, I've seen poverty in this life, right? Like, and not having cash and struggling, right, at various points of this career of mine. And I don't want to come back to that stage, right, and impose that on my family, sort of. So what's the right equilibrium, and how do you get in that moonshot mindset, and is it really worth it in the end?
I mean, you know, you're asking a very interesting and good
$1 billion question.
You know, no one has that answer. There's no one on earth that has that answer. There are plenty of people that have theories about it, but no one has an answer or a playbook for it. Because, you know, just from a typical startup perspective, 1 in, I don't know, 100,000 businesses become a unicorn. I mean, the odds are so against you. And it's something that I've really struggled with. And a lot of what I built RNMKR around, which is one of my big problem statements when I was working in the early days on RNMKR as an investment firm, was to say, how do we build something that maintains unicorn potential, but executes with private equity methodology, right? Much more like methodical, thoughtful, cash flowing, profitable, as opposed to like spray and pray and, you know, hope to God Facebook buys this sort of thing. And that's a big part of our model, because like you know, I still got the $1 billion dream. I want to build the next Instagram. I want to build the next TikTok. I want to build the next Uber. But also at this point in my career, and even early on, you know, I was way more interested in building real businesses. And real businesses to me are revenue generating, profitable. We see so many businesses these days that have no revenue, no profit. They sell, like, that's like a Silicon Valley pump and dump scheme. That's not a business. That's a gamble. And listen, I have plenty of friends that made a ton of money doing that. God bless their heart. It doesn't fundamentally make sense to me. And I personally don't want to play that game. I've tried it a couple times. I did all right. But I didn't make $1 billion doing it. And now I'm much more interested in real, traditional, sophisticated investments where we're looking at good, solid businesses in a private equity mindset, where we're like, here's a good business that's already profitable. It's already operating. It's already got a good team, but we believe we can make it better. And if we make it twice as good, we can make some money. If we make it 3 times as good, we can get a lot of money. If we make it even bigger than that, we can make a ton of money. And if we do that over and over again, we're going to make a lot of wealth for us and for our partners. So I don't know the answer, but I got my own theory, and, you know, I'll let you know in a few months, a few years how it turns out.
I think Phil Knight has an answer to that one. It's like, just do it. And then again, coming back to our prophet Goggins, I think it's like savagery. It's just like, get into it and embrace the grind, and you might have a chance to actually make it in a couple of years, right? Last question for you, because I know we're on time here. You mentioned like all these ideas, right? And that us entrepreneurs, we're very much that way. We see a problem, want to fix it. For example, my LinkedIn kicked me out 2 weeks ago. I had 18K followers, and I was like, this is such bullshit, you know, like I drop truth bombs here. I'm adding value. And yeah, there are a couple of bots or folks in the Philippines think that I'm not doing right, and they kick me out. So I'm like, I'm going to build a better social media because X isn't better right now. Like Elon's all over the place. and okay, I'm going to build it, but I already have like all these business ideas, right? So potential solution for that is to have AI agents execute on these ideas. And I'm currently building that with a couple of co-founders, right? So my question for you is, when you have these ideas, what's your method to actually execute on them and create a prototype? For example, we've seen vibe coding as of late, and cold email GTM is my best way to monetize a startup quick. So what is your recipe?
I think that those are all really cool ways of going about it. You know, I'm a little old school in the sense that a lot of times, like when I have an idea, it's really about pressure testing it. Like I won't tell the world about it, but I'll tell pieces of it to different people that I really trust their opinion. And like, if someone that you trust and respect, who is an expert in that field, is like, that's like, I had a version of what we're working on. You know, over the weekend, I was with my girlfriend. Something dawned on me. I was piecing it together. Was kind of inspired by another friend who's a friend of my girlfriend. She introduced me to, and today I had a call with him because I texted him over. I was like, I think I got something. I got to run it by you. And he knows it. He's an expert and whatnot. And so I took it to him and I was like, okay, so one thing to your point is when I do this, as I've matured in my career, I've learned to be a lot more thoughtful. Like if you're going to take someone's time, be as buttoned up as you can be. So like for him, I put together a one sheet, right? It wasn't just like, I got this idea, let's talk it out. This was like, hey, I've really thought this through. I put a one sheet together. Let me present it, right? And then be able to simplify it. And I walked him through it very quickly. And he was like, I think this is real. And I was like, really? You think so? You know, and so to me, it's like, you know, one of the great things that Dan Gilbert taught me and always told us was, you know, innovation is rewarded, but execution is worshiped, right? And so I think to your point about like, yes, a lot of people have a lot of ideas. A lot of people who consider themselves founders and entrepreneurs probably have more ideas than most and probably are better equipped to actually execute on them. But who gives a shit? Like everyone's got ideas, right? So and the question then becomes to me is not so much like how good is your idea, because there's a lot of good ones. It's really like, do you believe it? And if you believe it, great. Are you going to go execute it? And then the question to that becomes, well, what tests do you need to go through to decide if you want to execute on it? You know, risk your life, risk your time, put up money, you know, build a team, whatever it might be. And to me, that's really like where the pressure testing, like, I'll call you next week. I'm like, Charles, I'm working on this. Here's the way I'm seeing it. This is the problem. This is the solution. This is how I'm going to make money. What do you think of it? And you're like, Ari, like, that's cool, man, but that's really dumb. That's never going to work. Okay. If you're like, oh, Ari, wow, I can't believe you thought about it that way. What if we do this and blah, 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 that's different. So I think pressure testing amongst trusted experts and friends is definitely beneficial and something that I do all the time.
Yeah, it's pretty much everything is about stamina, right? So I sort of lost faith in workers and employees some time ago. I let go of my 250 employees 3 years ago and built purely on AIs nowadays. And even at the co-founder level, I think people of my pedigree, they're so rare, right? Like people with IQ and also like top ambition, but also top execution. So I've been building with AI, but I think that, yeah, I found through a funnel, right? Like these people, they start as clients of mine and they become friends and eventually they become co-founders. I think that this funnel pays out a lot, and this funnel is very slow, you know? So people that I met like 2-3 years ago are now co-founders because I vetted them. And I've seen that these people are straight savages responding my WhatsApp at 10 p.m., you know, executing stuff and so forth. So yeah, it's good advice there. Ari, where can people find out more about you?
I am Ari S. Goldberg on all social media, ARISGOLDBERG, on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And then on TikTok, I'm RES.Goldberg. So everybody feel free to connect. Would love to meet all of you. And Charles, really appreciate you inviting me on the pod.